Welcome back to the channel, the XRP Army. I hope everyone is having a great Sunday, no matter where they are in the world. It's clear that you're still in the weekend. A lot of people forget to think about that thing, but we need to. And what effects might the weekend have on the market? It's clear that CME futures are closed on the weekends, which does make them more likely to be manipulated than normal. But look at this. Since May 8th, Bitcoin has closed above $100,000 every single day. Almost every day, 95 stocks close above $100,000. Look back in time. No one ever thought that Bitcoin would be worth so much now, and here we are, 95 days in a row, big stuff, and people still don't seem to notice this. But your boy CryptoZax will keep telling you how important this matter is. When we look at the market as a whole, though, we can see that prices are coming back down a bit right now. The overall market has had a little bit of a bounce in the last hour, but most coins are still down over the last 24 hours, which shouldn't come as a surprise if you watched my update last night. But as this change was being made, the price of XRP was $3.18. Bitcoin's value is also down 4%, now worth $188.6 billion. So, the value has gone down a bit since our last report, and about $4.8 billion worth of trades happen every 24 hours. As always, though, I want to make it clear that nothing on this channel is meant to be taken as financial advice. As with any investment, you should always do your own study before putting money into crypto. Another crypto-based business is going public, so White Fiber will use its IPO to get $159.4 million. What it means is to trade as WIFI on the NASDAQ stock markets. Bit Capital, their parent company, still owns 77.6% of that White Fiber, which is crazy again, but you can start to see how we've been talking about it. The hype is going to help these businesses right now. They know that these IPOs are getting a lot of attention, but I've been clear that not all of these companies will do well. Some companies' stock prices might go up during the boom, but only a few will benefit in the long run. These are the companies that are building and going global, taking crypto infrastructure around the world, are the ones that will most likely stay in business and do well, which will likely show in the price of their stock. But let's look at another example right now. Also, look at this. Because your boy CryptoZX always keeps things real, I wanted to talk to you guys about this and share my own thoughts with you. We are now in a bull market. CIO at Morgan Stanley says that the 3-year rolling recession finished in April after people who saw this brutal end are now calling it the fat first start of a new bull run. We are now in a wild bull cycle. So Morgan Stanley's chief investment officer says the bull market has begun. This is because, as you may remember, we were in a recession that ended in April after new tariffs were put in place. In any case, what do I think about this? Of course, because if you look at how prices have changed in the crypto markets in the past, the price trend from the past around the third quarter, which as you can see, we're already in, like the third quarter crypto should be at its best around the end of the third quarter or the beginning of the fourth quarter. And of course, no one really knows the exact time. No one can time the top, but based on what we've seen in the past, that price point was usually reached around the fourth quarter of this year or the beginning of next year in January 2026. The 2018 cycle had a top around that price, and the 2021 cycle had a rough top around that same time. Could that happen now? No matter what Morgan Stanley's chief information officer says, if I were in the attitude of making money, let's say you are, there are two ways to look at this, and I want you to remember this I would take a look at the bottom of the price trend from the past. Yes, a lot of people come out and say things like, we're in a super cycle and other silly things. But if you don't want to risk a huge drop, which can happen even if there isn't a super cycle, you should lock in as many profits as possible. If you don't, let's say the market does boom, which it is already starting to do. Please remember that the market is getting hot already. Right now, Bitcoin's market share is dropping at a rate that hasn't been seen since the beginning of the year. Not only that, but the rate might go down next month as well. And of course, if ETFs go live as well, I think that could be a really big trigger unless Donald Trump comes along and says there will be more rewards. But until then, if you say that only a few coins will be, if you say that the market as a whole is no longer in that 4-year cycle, I'm sure that's not true. It's still going to have an effect on 98% of the coins after 4 years. You should lock in your gains when you see a chance to do so, because if you don't, do you think that someone else, another holder, will be waiting for you? Without a doubt not. Also, keep in mind that can start a snowball effect if a lot of big whales start taking big gains. The price can also go down. Sorry for the long rant, but that's something that people kind of get. It's possible for our thoughts to get the best of us because we can become greedy. But you shouldn't be greedy at all times, especially if you want to safeguard your gains. That being said, you don't really care if you're in it for the long haul. You don't care that prices are going down. The long-term future is still in front of you. Then, of course, the most important thing is to be patient. So even though some people say that we are starting a new wave of price increases, I still believe that sometime this year will be the market's highest point ever. So look at what this smoke says. Understand, when you replied to Smoke's question, have you looked into metal? You put this. The Proton and XPR. I was wondering if you had any ideas, because I think it's very strange that big names who used to support XRP suddenly stop pushing it right when the case ends and start pushing these other ideas. Look at Smokes. That's a really nice answer back. Small investors are interested in stories. As I've said 1,000 times on my channel, take a look at the meme coin market as an example. With the way social media works, a lot of videos go popular, people post their PNLs. Sometimes those PNLs are right. People always see the bright side of things. That doesn't mean they're always right. You're the market for meme coins, but no one knows what the bad side is because 99% of the meme coins never get paid off. 99 people like having the rug pulled. Not many people do well. But keep in mind that retail wants instant satisfaction and overnight success. And let's say shopping. That's just what I remember reading before. So let's say you had some cash that you wanted to put into crypto. That was the only cash you had on hand. You put your money into meme coins, but those coins are now worthless. Yeah, you don't even have that money anymore. And there are a lot of stories about small investors who lost their money on memes, and now they can't put their money into good projects, which are actually doing very well. If you want to follow me, the most important thing is to be patient. And look what it smokes like. Institutions of race-proven usefulness. That's crazy, right? Now, take a look at what Phil says about the XRP's very amazing growth. He says it has seen the fastest rise in value compared to any other blockchain, driven by Ripple's RLUSD, and this is just the start of what we're working on. Easy Labs will send this flying, which is very interesting. If you're shocked by this, remember that XRP is a record. Is that page your one-stop shop? This means you don't want to be getting two. We are shocked that, we are seeing a rise in RWAs on the blockchain, but not in XRP. Sunday Shadow to chat for posting the XRP spot data analysis. Of course, the sound level is still not as loud as it used to be. We are, however, on the weekend. That's something we need to remember. But if you look at the dominance, it's still having trouble breaking out, and the July lows and levels are still acting as support. This should help you understand how important that range really is. If you look at Bitcoin's price, on the other hand, it's actually going up. It's crazy to think that Bitcoin is about to close the daily candle above $119,000. Let's give Dominant a live update, though, since it's still not there. It's possible that we're behind by 60.47%. It is, and the Dominant is still not rising the way you'd expect it to. So much ally cool stuff going on here. In contrast, XRP is currently trading at $3.17. There is a lot of support in this range, but we're still above the $3 key range. And based on what we're seeing with BTC, I still think we will break out of this key range this coming week. But you want the majority to drop below 60%, which we have already done. I think that will happen again. Tell me what you think in the comments. Why wait? If you haven't already, subscribe now. Stay safe and have a nice day. Crypto ZX.